This is Wicket on Wisconsin. My name's Mike Wicket. After 10 years in Milwaukee talking sports, I took a bit of a break, but now I'm back and here to talk about the Packers, the Bucks, the Brewers, and more with you. And now inside the Koss Headphone Studios, this is Wicket on Wisconsin with me, Mike Wicket.
You know, I really wish we weren't coming to do this same exact episode that we did just a couple of days ago. And here we are. We're doing this same thing again we did just a couple of days ago. Thank you for joining me. I wish it was on better terms. I spent the last couple of minutes trying to figure out why I was having an issue getting on Facebook. So if you've seen me go live a couple of times before right now, that was why. I'll worry about that later. We are just doing this on the podcast. We're also doing this on the on Twitter. No team's ever come back from 0-3. That doesn't bode very well, does it? No team has ever come back from down 0-3 in these NBA playoffs like this. So I would be very, very worried if I was the Milwaukee Bucks. If I was a Milwaukee Bucks fan, you should be very worried and you should be very upset because now, not only are you probably going to have to fire your head coach, Mike Budenholzer, who's brought you to two of the best seasons in the history of the organization, all the whispers. And I don't know if they're going to win on Sunday. I have no idea. I don't know what to make if they're going to win on Sunday. But you're going to hear all the whispers all Labor Day weekend long about whether or not Giannis is gone after this year. Milwaukee, cheers to you. But that game was a disappointing effort by your Milwaukee Bucks. Now, what's funny is it's not the same kind of disappointment that we saw in the previous couple of games. It's a different kind of disappointment than we saw in the previous games, right? Like this wasn't, hey, they turned the ball over 400 times. It wasn't that kind of game. It was a different basketball game. I mean, I'm going to talk about. You can jump in on Twitter, and I'd love to read your comments, by the way, if you want to throw one up. We'd love for you to do so, and I want to read your comments. I'm going to have my phone in my hand so I can monitor staring at the screen and looking at the Twitter comments. Like, there's so much to be frustrated about right now if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan after watching that game, because that is a game they had. They were up 10 or 12 with 10 minutes to go in that ball game. And then Jimmy Butler took over. And then Miami said, no, we're going to kick this thing into high gear. And Milwaukee went cold. There were 5 straight possessions in the final 5 minutes where it went missed 3, no rebound. Missed 3, no rebound. Bledsoe hit a free throw. Missed 3, no rebound. Missed 3, no rebound. Miami scored 8 points on the flip side and stretched the lead. This was an infuriating game to watch because, again, the one-trick pony Milwaukee Bucks, if they're not hitting threes, they're not going to beat good teams. I screamed this in the last series on a bunch of podcasts about you can get away with missing threes and throwing the ball all over and guys not playing great defense against Orlando. You can do that. You can't do that against Miami. And we said that a couple of nights ago when they lost in Game 2. You can't do that against Miami. You have to be able to hit shots. And they didn't. Down the stretch, they did not hit shots. You've got to give a gold star to a couple of guys that aren't the MVP in the NBA, that aren't the two-time MVP in the NBA, and that's Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez. Those two guys get gold stars for their effort. I know Chris didn't hit a bunch of shots down the stretch, and I know that Brook Lopez didn't hit a whole bunch down the stretch. He seemed to force a couple down the stretch. But you know what? If it weren't for Brook Lopez and it wasn't for Chris Middleton, the Bucks would have lost by 30. Because Giannis Antetokounmpo either tweaked his ankle and it screwed him up, or Giannis sucked, or a combination of both. Can you imagine the MVP of the league being announced as Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry, anybody you want that's won the MVP in the NBA, being as ineffective as Giannis has been for most of the last 3 games? I know. I'll pull the stats up. I understand. You're going to tell me, well, Giannis, look at the stats. He had a triple-double almost. He had 21, 16, and 9. Giannis cost the Bucks the couple of games so far in this series, and I don't think they're going to come back. Nobody's ever come back down from 0-3, but I know we like to handle Giannis with, kid gloves because we don't want him to leave Milwaukee, but call a spade a spade. Giannis was either injured or he sucked. Which one do you want to call it? Giannis was 0 for 7 from 3, and he barely got back to slightly respectable from the free throw line when he was 7 of 12. There was one point he was like 2 for 8 or 1 for 8 or something ridiculous in this basketball game. Anybody who's not going to be blaming Giannis for playing a major role in the fact that the Bucks are down 0-3 in this series is wearing their green and black glasses, and they're wearing their Giannis underwear, and they're going to bed wearing their Chris Middleton with their Chris Middleton pillow underneath. The MVP of the league can't go for 21 in the most important game of his NBA career, or at least of this season. Obviously, some Eastern Conference Finals games last year were slightly more important than this one. But here in the Eastern Conference semifinals, Giannis Antetokounmpo can't go for 21. 0 for 7 from 3. I have been telling you, and I have been screaming it, and Bucks fans and Giannis apologists have been coming back at me and telling me that, he's getting better as a shooter. No, Miami, and Reggie Miller kept saying this on the broadcast, that they were going to drive the limo up to Giannis and say, hey, go right ahead, anything you want to do. You can shoot the three all you want. The worst thing that happened was Giannis hit all those threes against the Lakers back in December. That was the worst thing that happened. Then it got everybody thinking that Giannis can hit threes all night. Then it got Giannis thinking that he can hit threes whenever he wants. Infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. On a positive note, they didn't turn the ball over all that much. 10 turnovers in this ball game for Milwaukee. I mean, that's an improvement. Hell yes, it's an improvement. 22 for Lopez, 18 for Chris Middleton. But again, you are now facing insurmountable odds. Insurmountable odds. Nobody's ever come back from 0-3. What are you going to do now? What's the next plan, bud? How many minutes for Giannis tonight? 35 minutes for Giannis. I heard the stat beforehand. My guy Sparky on the Big Show on 105.7 in Milwaukee read the stat, and it was actually said early in the game that Giannis is 44th in the NBA in minutes played in the playoffs. 44th. How is the MVP 44th? Now, if you want to say he needed extra rest tonight because of the ankle that he may have tweaked in the first quarter, I'll give that to you. I'll understand that. But otherwise, Giannis should have been playing 48 tonight, and he got 35. Was the ankle bothering him? Sure. Michael had the flu. LeBron James had all kinds of injuries. Steph Curry played with all kinds of injuries. All right? Maybe Richard Jefferson was right. Maybe he's not an MJ. Maybe he is a Pippen. We know he's a one-dimensional guy who can't do a heck of a lot else besides attack the rim. I've talked about that on previous podcasts. I don't want to go into that again. If you want to hear that, you can go ahead and hit that on the podcast page. Definitely. Find Wicked on Wisconsin, wherever you get your podcasts. I mean, Bud shortened up the bench tonight. You didn't see much Pat Connaughton. You didn't see much Kyle Korver in this game. The two guys that Korver can give you a couple of threes off the bench every so often, but the guys that had to play, the core four and the rest of the guys, the starters, they played the majority of the minutes, and it still wasn't good enough. You know why? Because your MVP wasn't good enough. And I don't know what anybody else is going to sit there and say that Giannis wasn't good enough, but Giannis certainly wasn't good enough to win this basketball game for you. As a team, they had 11 of 37 from 3. They shot under 30% from the 3. This team can't win ball games if they don't shoot well from the 3. We've said that for, most of this season. And it's the truth. They can't win basketball games if they don't shoot well from 3. It's just infuriating to watch once again. And you know what? Say what you want about Jimmy Butler. Say what you want about him bouncing around from team to team and his attitude and this and that. But Jimmy Butler, when push came to shove, Jimmy Butler said, "Get on my back. I'm going to attack the rim. I'm going to hit threes. When I get fouled on those drives, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit those free throws because Jimmy Butler had that killer instinct. I know Giannis wants to have that killer instinct. I know you want Giannis to have that killer instinct. I want Giannis to have that killer instinct. But Giannis certainly didn't have it tonight. Blame the ankle. Go ahead. You can blame the ankle if you want. Bucks lose to the 5 seed, the Miami Heat. Final score 115-100. Jimmy Butler, monster night again. He was so hot in the first game, cooled off in game 2. They actually locked him down. Wes Matthews did a real good job in game 2. Goes off for 30 and was huge down the stretch. Damn, I didn't realize Bam Adebayo had 20 and 16. I don't know what the next adjustment you can make is. Right? Like, what's the next adjustment? Right? What can you say? Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're not going to let Bam get 16 boards. We're going to play for Giannis not to get a twisted ankle. What can you do? I don't know what you can do. Maybe everybody was right. I kept hearing, I'm sure you did too, I kept hearing about how Milwaukee didn't want to see Miami and how Miami was the team that was going to beat all kinds of trouble. And maybe you were right. By the way, I'm looking for your comments now on Twitter. I'm going to start reading them as they roll in. Got my phone in my hand after I got my rant out, got my stats out, got all that feeling out. But maybe everybody was right. Maybe Miami was the team that the Bucks didn't want to see. Maybe Miami was the team that matched up so well it didn't matter what their seeding was. Maybe the bubble was the worst thing to possibly happen to the Milwaukee Bucks, who play so well at Fiserv Forum. They're the best NBA home. They had the best record in the NBA at home outside of Philadelphia. Maybe everybody was right. Maybe this was the worst possible matchup for Milwaukee, who looked like crap in the bubble in the first 8. Who didn't look like the best team in the NBA against the Orlando Magic. Maybe everybody was right. Miami wants to do exactly what the Bucks let teams do. Miami wants to bomb away from 3. Milwaukee lets you bomb away from 3. Miami's got a big physical center that isn't going to let you get to the rack, isn't going to let Giannis get to the rack and Bam Adebayo. And that's exactly what they did. They stopped Giannis from getting to the rack. And props to Miami. I mentioned this last time. What they do so well is not only do they meet Giannis in the middle, and he had some great plays, some great passing plays. The Reggie Miller highlighted it too. At the free throw line when he got met and found DiVincenzo on a cut, sweet dunk. A couple of times Giannis no-looked. Was it Wes in the corner? Maybe it was, I don't remember who it was in the corner. But at that point, it was like, boom, Giannis is doing a great job. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's getting to the rack, or he's getting to the line, and he's finding the open person, the open shooter, finding the open man. But boy, Miami does a really good job of recovering to those shooters. And they fill those gaps so well. And now Milwaukee is probably done. Now you have another great season, 56 wins in the regular season, whatever the regular season is going to be called here during the COVID year. And what do you have to show for it? 2-time MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, and a conference semifinal sweep. I mean, are they going to win a game? Are they going to win Game 4? Does it even matter? They play on Sunday. I don't know, do your Labor Day weekend plans change? Were you basing them around what the Milwaukee Bucks were going to do? I mean, I'll tell you what, if you want to think about a Milwaukee sports curse, I'll tell you, you have a lot of credence by looking at the COVID-19 pandemic as just the sports gods taking this away from you. You know what? Here's what I mean by that. There is no difference between being a 1 seed and an 8 seed right now. Other than your talent, there is no difference. There's no advantage. Obviously, there's talent differential between 1 and 8, 2 and 7, and what should be 1 and 5. But that's not really a thing. But there's no benefit to being the 1 seed right now in this bubble. And that just sucks because the Milwaukee Bucks had a hell of a home court advantage. It was tough to come to Fiserv Forum and win. It really is tough to go to Fiserv and win. And the virus took that away. I don't know if they're down 0-3. I don't know if they're up 3-0. I don't know if it's 2-1 either way. If they have to play some of these games in Milwaukee as opposed to playing all these games in the bubble. But Milwaukee fans are great. Playing on this floor right here, Milwaukee fans, you're great at pumping your team up, getting your team hype. And now it might be another lost season. Another lost season. You might have the two-time MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, a Coach of the Year finalist in Coach Bud. And it might be all for naught. And you just might get nothing out of it. Just sucks. You know, you had other guys step up and actually play pretty well tonight. I mentioned Chris and Brook Lopez. You know, DV3 played well. Hit some big shots in this game. And now you're down 0-3. Well, good news is the Packers start in 9 days, so got that going for you, which is nice. All right, well, I'll probably do another one of these over the weekend, Labor Day weekend. I hope you are safe. Do me a favor, please don't drink and drive while you're out enjoying the Labor Day weekend. Bucks play again Sunday afternoon, and I'll be doing one of these, whether they win or they lose. Could be my last Bucks-centered Wicked on Wisconsin podcast until the fall, but it's kind of a weird off season. And if this is the case, if this, in fact, is the end of the year, if next game is, in fact, at the end of the year, we have to figure out what the plan is for Coach Budenholzer. Twice now. And if you want to go back to his days with Atlanta, Mike Budenholzer has been outcoached in the NBA playoffs in the most crunch of moments. Last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, a team the Bucks were up 2-0 on and lose 4 straight. Now they're the 1 seed against a team that had beaten them several times in the regular season, and now they're about to get eliminated in 4. In 4. I just can't. I didn't see this. I wasn't going to be shocked if they lost to Miami. All the experts said Miami gives Milwaukee all kinds of problems, but I'm shocked it's going to be over in 4. I hope they survive and they shock the world and they win 4 straight. They have the talent. Do they have the adjustments? Can Giannis's ankle hold up? Can Bledsoe make more plays? Can Chris Middleton stay as hot as he has been? One more time, Milwaukee, cheers to you. I'm going to ask you one more thing. If you would be so kind as to help me out. This is the first time I've mentioned this on this podcast. We recently passed a really, really cool milestone between this podcast and my other. I do a podcast called Check Out My Dad Pod. It's about being a dad. And I'm a stay-at-home father. I'm raising 3 babies at home. My wife is the breadwinner. I'm cool with that. But I talk to a guest dad of the week every single week, and I tell a few stories from raising 3 babies. And between that and Wicked on Wisconsin, this podcast, which has been going on now since about December or so, we reached over 105,000 downloads, which I am so proud of. And I'm very grateful to you for being a part of that. If you are brand new, we are on Spotify and Apple and Google Podcasts, and you can subscribe. I would appreciate you subscribing. Continue to download the podcast. We'll do a lot of Packers stuff during the season, and if the Brewers get hot and you want to hear Brewers podcast, we'll definitely do that. I got some more fun guests coming up. The other thing I would really request of you, please, I have been nominated for multiple Wisconsin Podcast Association awards. I need you to stuff the box. Stuff the ballot box, please. Vote early and vote often. It's on my Twitter page at Mike Wickett. It's on the podcast page, facebook.com/Mike Wickett Podcasts. It's also on Instagram. You can DM me if you really want me to tell you where the link is. But I want you to vote early, vote often, stuff that ballot box. Best sports podcast, this one right here, Wicked on Wisconsin. Also the other 2 best family podcasts. And I'm also up for best new podcast, this one right here. So I'd appreciate you. Go ahead and vote for me, please. I would love that. Well, that's all for me. I hope you have a great holiday weekend. Please be safe. We'll do it again coming up maybe on Sunday. It's the end of this run for the Milwaukee Bucks. Who knows? Please tell a friend about this, especially if they are a Wisconsin sports fan, about Wicked on Wisconsin. The podcast will be available for you to download, and videos are always up on my YouTube page. Until next time, I'm Mike Wickett. This has been Wicked on Wisconsin. Go Pack Go, Go Brewers, and Go Bucks.